Good morning, world. This is Omara. Hope you guys enjoyed my show I made, like 3 days ago? Yeah. Was it long, Ivan? No, I'll talk for like 40 minutes as usual. I'm done. Yo, Ivan, you really mean it when you're not saying you're not playing on Wizard? Yeah, guys, I don't care about this channel, man. I get paid for this shit. That's why you better enjoy this series, Why So Cat, because I'm the king. I want to forget about this channel. Yeah. I don't get paid for this shit, man. No. Yeah. I will only make the next video probably next maybe Tuesday. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't care about the channel, no, I don't, guys. I don't get paid for this shit. You guys act like I watch them. That's why I don't care about this channel. I don't. Notice how I don't pump out like 1 hour, 40-minute videos anymore. I used to, and now I don't pump out 1 hour, 40-minute videos. I do like 40-minute videos, 50 minutes. I'm done. I used to do like 3 videos a day, right? I don't do that anymore. I just do 1 video a day. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I was eating my food. Yeah. Alright, you almost not going over your book? Yeah. I'm on the final chapter. Oh, you finished Walking with the Axes? Yeah, I did. I finished Walking with the Axes. I just have the last chapter left. I'm done. But after I finish going over Volume 3, I will be going over some sections of Volume 1 and 2 and adding some stuff to make it more interesting, obviously. Because I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to my book. I want to make it as good as possible, so I might be polishing up a few things in Volume 1 and 2. Just a few things, and I'm done. Why did you fix the stiffness? Yeah, I did. All the sections in Volume 3 that were a little bit stiff, I polished it up. Obviously. So it won't be as stiff. All the stiff stuff, I fixed it. Yeah. Sarah? Yeah. 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 Yeah, now to talk about the Gates will enjoy Brad Ivan. Yeah, the Gates know I did it. They know I wrote a masterpiece. That's why they want to control it, honestly. They want to control my brand. Yeah. But Zero, that money's for me and BG, it's not for you. For 25 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion, 40 billion, whatever it is, however I'm trying to make on my book, that money's for me and my wife. It's not for the gatekeepers. They're worth their hundreds of trillions, perhaps even quadrillions of dollars, Ivan. They make like their 50, 60, 70, 80 trillion a year. Don't let those guys take their money, man. They make more on my roll that. Those billions for you and BJ. That's not for them. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Those billions are for you and BJ. It's not for them. They're just greedy pigs, Ivan. Yeah. Ward, how much money do you think you make off your book? I don't know, 15 to 25 billion. Or I might be shocked and I make 30, 40, even 50 billion. But to make 30, 40, 50 billion, a good like 3 billion plus people have to buy my book. But according to Google, there's only 1.5 billion English speaking people in the world. That includes North America, Europe, and the people who speak English in the foreign countries. There's only 1.5 billion people who speak English. If 1.5 billion people buy my book, I'll pull in about 25 billion around there. Based off the math. 25, maybe 30, 23 billion around there. 30 billion, maybe 28 billion. You guys see what I'm saying? That's most likely how much I'm going to make. Probably my 20 something billion off the book. $24-25 billion, yeah. One lottery with that money. With that money, you can start your own film studio, Ivan. Sky's your name appearing in Hollywood. You can fund your movie with your own money. Self-finance with your own money, obviously. I have no choice but to self-finance it, as no investor will invest money in my movie because the gatekeepers own that. They'll never let me touch a dime of their money. Yeah, the situation is so serious that even when I'm king, I can't touch the gatekeepers' money. Obviously, but because I made the billions off the Zane's book, that money's mine. I can take that money and use it to fund to self-finance my last Overseas movie, obviously, for $3 billion. That way you give Peter Jackson and or Mel Gibson all of the budget to work with, obviously, for the movie. Sorry. Yeah. Got some Sarah. Hope it's not cold today. Yesterday was freezing cold when I went to go get my smokes. It was so cold. Hope it's not that cold, man. Christmas is like in what, like 20 days? 21 days, yeah. 3 weeks. And we're heading into New Year's 2026. I'll be 34 on January 18th. I'll be 34 years old, guys. Getting old. In 6 years, guys, I'll be 40. That's crazy, huh? Yeah, man. 40 in 6 years. That's why you're serious about it. Yeah, because I guarantee Ivan in a good maybe 3-4 years, the families are gonna sit me upstairs and tell me they're selling the house. That's why I'm going over my book like every day. I'm on the final chapter. I'll go over the book today, like later on in the afternoon. I'm on the final chapter and what. And after that, I gotta save my money. I'm gonna get a proofread just in case the families try to. The families tell me they're gonna sell the house. That's how you know they don't care about you, man. They don't care if you're on the streets. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't care if Ivan's on the streets and he's poor. We lock the doors on him, so if we kick him out of the house, he'll be homeless. Or I'll have to find someone to live with, but yeah. Would you still collect welfare? Yeah, I will, but I have to let Welfare Quebec know that I need more money. If you're living paying rent, welfare can provide you with like $1,800 a month, which is enough money for me to pay out on my five. The best thing to do is to pay. The best thing to do is to live with someone in their basement. That's cheaper than renting your own apartment. I won't qualify for renting my own apartment when my credit's horrible. You have to live with someone in their basement. They'll probably charge me $500 a month rent. If I make $1,800 a month with welfare, I can afford to pay my bills and obviously. But that's not going to happen, obviously. When they tell me, yeah, we're selling the house, I want to know, yeah, I wrote my book, Last of Xanus. I want to get this thing self-published. I proofread it. I proofread my book. I formatted it and I designed my cover. I want to get this book self-published, man. I'm not going to have you guys do like that, man. Yeah. Yeah, Ivan, that's cold, man. They don't care about you. Yeah, kick Ivan out of the house, but we lock the doors on him so he'll be homeless. Or he'll barely be able to pay his bills and while we make our choices there. That's why I came with the keys over the families will do me, man, because they don't care about me, obviously. They're wicked people. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's not why VJ cries. VJ cries for many reasons. The personal reasons. She wants to be with me. She loves me. She wants to be with me. She's crazy. She wants to see the light. And at the same time, she has career dreams. Yeah, I want to be a big budget movie, famous movie star. I want to do music with you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And VJ also knows the situation is hopeless, obviously. Even though Ivan has the keys to the Euros Masters Jose, it's because the families that have so much money and they're so powerful, they can do shit to fuck things up for Ivan and delay it, obviously. Because VJ knows the families don't want me being with her and they don't want us being king and queen. And you all don't want me being king and queen. You don't want me with VJ. That's why Victoria Justice cries, but she knows the situation is hopeless. It's not hopeless. I have the keys, but I'm at a disadvantage because I'm poor. I don't have any money, right? The gatekeepers are so powerful. They have they have all that power and control, and they control the courts and the police and everything, man. They're fucking powerful people, man. That's why God gave me the keys, man, because He knew they were fucking powerful people. Yeah, but the situation's not hopeless. I have the keys to the kingdom, man. I own my middle class of Xanus. Once I get it proof for it, design my cover, design my map, the brand's mine, and I have the keys. I don't have to sell the gatekeepers. That's why they're pissed off. Yeah, they're like, fuck, man, we can't guard them on that, man. Like, we do reach it, but we can't do. Ivan's not gonna let us do it like that, man. Yeah, Ivan's smart. Ivan did not get deceived by us, but Victoria Justice got deceived. Yes, Victoria Justice got deceived by the gatekeepers. She got duped. But Ivan Omara did not get duped by the gatekeepers. He knows they're gonna dupe him too. Yes, I know they're gonna dupe me. That's why I'm not selling. They dupe VJ, they're gonna dupe me too. You Ivan. Yeah, you'll be lucky to you'll be lucky to get maybe $30-40 off your book, Ivan. The families are gonna take the publishing houses are gonna take all your money, man. The gatekeepers are gonna take all your money. Yeah, all your billions are gonna take. They're taking all your billions while they're also making their I don't know, their 60, 70, 80 children every year. I mean, they're gonna dupe you. That's why you do not sell to them. I mean, God gave you the keys. The reason that why you don't have to sell to them. So, Sarah, God gave you the keys to the kingdom. That way you don't have to sell to them, Ivan. Yeah, man. Yeah. They don't want you being living out of VJ. No, it's an envy, obviously. It's not just about the power control, Ivan. No, man. There's something deeper than that. It's an envy, obviously. They don't want me being that rich. Yeah, even when they make their, I don't know, their tens of trillions every year, man, they're fucking greedy people, man. Yeah. Yeah, Ivan, you don't deserve to live that life. I'm like, yes, I do. I created this place. You didn't, man. So you think you have the right to make your tens of trillions every year, but I don't have the right to make my billions. I'm fucking God. I created this place with VJ. We deserve to make that money too. Make our billions too, obviously. It's not just about you. You have to think about me and my wife being rich. It's not just about you, man. Making all that money, man. Yeah, they're greedy pigs. Yeah. Sarah? Do you think you'll make more than maybe $25 billion on my book? Maybe, but I highly doubt it. It's probably around that 15 to 25 billion range because my book is only in English. I'm not translating my book in different language. I don't have that kind of money. Once I make the money off my book, I can now translate my book into different languages, but I'm not going to do that. This is for the English speaking world. The people in the world who don't speak English, I'm sorry, guys. It's out of my hands. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. That's why VJ cries because she knows I won the lottery with the Xanus Brat man. Yeah, I even won the lottery with that money. Yeah, $24 billion you won the lottery with that money. Start your own film studio, you could what? Do your music, you live that amazing life, buy your build your $1 million house, buy your yacht, your jets, your clothes, your cars, travel around mostly at suites. You won a lot with that money. That's why Victoria Justice cries. Because she wants to live that life with me, obviously. Sarah. She got duped by the gatekeepers. No, I've not got duped yet, you got duped, BJ. You sell to the gate gods, they want to go out there and career, you're fucked. You can't make your money. Yeah. You're right, VJ has money. Yeah, VJ has money, but she has a shitty career, man. She's doing all these shitty movies, man. Like low indie budget movies, like 10 million, 8 million, 5 million, 20 million are budget movies. And you notice how her movies are not successful because the gatekeepers are guarded on her career. Even though you guys watch it, yeah, we all watch it, yes. her movies are not successful in the box office because the gatekeepers lock the doors on her, obviously. You notice how no one talks about VJ2 in Hollywood? Barely, right? Yeah. You ever see John Camp or Robin Burnett talking about Victoria Justice? They don't talk about it, yeah, because the doors are locked on her. They have to listen to the gatekeepers. Yeah, don't talk about Victoria Justice in Hollywood. Like, lock the doors on her. Like, even though the whole world's tuning into her movies and everything and her music, and she has the keys, guard the door on this, sabotage her stats, don't let her make her money. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're powerful, the gatekeepers. That's why VJ cries, because she needs my help. She got duped. She has money, obviously, but she makes, like, shitty money in Hollywood. She probably makes, like, 400, 500K for movies in Hollywood, Victoria Justice, for movies. Victoria Justice wants to make the billions with me, obviously, for the movie contract, not like 500K, 400K. No, she wants to make the billions with me, and she wants her freedom too. She doesn't want to be a dirty slave under the gatekeepers. That's why she cries, Ivan, because she's crazy. Obviously, she got duped by the gatekeepers. Victoria Justice, yeah, she got duped bad. You got some Sarah? Yeah, give me a sec, guys. I'm gonna go upstairs and get some coffee. I'll be back in a sec. Skip the video, don't that for a lot. Don't hate him, son. Hope you guys on the show. guys. Sorry for the long wait. Go upstairs to make my coffee. Yeah. All right, how much money do you think the gatekeepers have in their bank account? I don't know. At least probably 500 trillion plus. At least they have in their bank, right? Because they probably take a lot of their money and they invest it into stuff for their businesses they own around the world. But probably 500 trillion maybe they have in their bank, or maybe more, maybe 800 trillion, even quadrillions of dollars they have in their bank. If they're pulling in 50, 60, 70 trillion every year for decades, you do the math how much money they have in their bank, man. But they probably put a lot of money back into investing in businesses and that kind of stuff around the world. Because they obviously own a lot of businesses around the world, the gatekeepers. Yeah, they have all that money, man. Do not let those guys take your 25 off your book, Ivan, when they make all that money, man. Your 40 billion, 30 billion when they make all that money, man. No, man, that money's for you and BJ. It's not for them. They're just greedy pigs. Don't let those guys take your money, man. They have more than enough money in their bank, man. They're just greedy psychopaths, obviously. They're greedy pigs. Sarah? Yeah. Yeah, but not Brad's more popular than Harry Potter. Yeah, well, more popular than Harry Potter, man. Xanus. Yeah, it's going to be more popular than Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Yeah, more popular than Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Xanus will be, man. My book will be very popular. Yeah. Yeah, the world's going to love that book. Oh, yeah, the world will love my book. They're going to love Ivan Omara's book. The last one was Xanus, right? If you think Nia 2 said Nerd of the Rings are crazy Lord of the Rings Star Wars fans, nothing. They're going to be much crazier Xanus fans when they read my book, man. Like, you know how Nerd of the Rings is a diehard Lord of the Rings fan, and Nia 2 is a hardcore Star Wars fan? Well, they're going to be bigger Xanus fans than they are Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Like, he usually even say, yeah, even though I love Star Wars, I love George Lucas, man, I'm a bigger Xanus fan than I am Star Wars. And Nerd of the Rings will say, yeah, even though I respect J.R.R. Tolkien, he's a legend, he wrote that Masters of Lord of the Rings, I'm a bigger Xanus fan than I am Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Xanus is a better book than those books, man. Yeah, better book than those IPs, honestly. Yeah. Got some Sarah? Yeah. Yeah. Will Peter Jackson be a bigger Xanus fan than he is Lord of the Rings? Yeah, he will. Because J.R.R. Tolkien's not the son of God, man. Like, and my book is better than Lord of the Rings. No offense, right? Yeah. Peter Jackson told me, yeah, Ivan, I enjoyed your book more than J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece, but it's a bit boring, Ivan. You might tell me that, yeah, whereas your book is more entertaining. I was more hooked reading it than I was Lord of the Rings, man. Your book is better than Lord of the Rings, Ivan. And your book is much more easier to adapt, Ivan. Lord of the Rings is a tough book to adapt, whereby I had to cut out so many things in the movie, right? Whereas my book, it's actually easy to adapt. It's easy to follow the story. Yeah, Ivan, your story is very easy to follow. It's much easier than J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, Ivan. I know, Peter. Lord of the Rings is tough to adapt. I'm surprised Peter pulled it off. That's tough to adapt, man. He pulled it off. I can never adapt Lord of the Rings. That's too complicated for me, man. Some Sarah. Yeah. That's why those holoactors are lucky for Xanus, obviously. An experience out of horror with me looking at devils, guys. My thesis documentary I made, yeah, looking at demons. Tachys awakens the Bat King in the mountains, in the abyss. Well, Ivan, is Gilead City the abyss? Pretty much. Yeah, you know how Moria is kind of like the abyss? Yeah, the Gilead City is pretty much the abyss, honestly. Yeah. And Tachys awakens. All I'm going to say is Tachys awakens Ephesus, the Bat King, obviously. The King Bat in the Mountains. I almost spoiled it for you. Arguably the greatest scene in the whole book, or you can argue the ancestor scene's better. They kind of cancel each other out, but I mean, it's debatable, right? The Ephesus scene will blow your mind away, man. That's cinema on the page. Yeah, man. It's a masterpiece, Xanus, man. It's an amazing book. How long your book be, Ivan? My book is 200,000 words. Right now, I'm actually pushing to 200,000 words because I've been polishing up some stuff in my book. So you're looking at about an 800-page book for Xanus. So it's a long book, but because it's a masterpiece, the 800 pages are going to fly by. You guys are going to wish my book was 1,500 pages because it's so entertaining and it's such an amazing book. But you can binge the whole thing in one day. So like the 800 pages are going to fly by. As me, when I went over my book, Walking with the Ancestors, the chapter flew by because I was hooked reading it and polishing it up while I was reading it. I was hooked reading it. It flew by so fast, man. It flies by very fast, yeah. It's an amazing book, obviously. Yeah, man. Some Sarah. Yeah, man. Xanus is a masterpiece. Yeah, that's why the case want to control it. You know it's an amazing book, obviously. So why, you don't trust the Hollywood companies? No, I don't. Somebody tells me if I sold out, God forbid, and the Hollywood companies touch my story, I'm scared they're gonna ruin my story. Like they ruined George Lucas' Star Wars, right? They come up with all these ideas, make all these changes, and then they ruin my story. And they only put maybe $250 million towards each of the movies. Yeah, if we're gonna make the movie for $250 million, my guys, $250 million won't cut it. You gotta put $1 billion towards this. But Hollywood never put $1 billion towards the movie because they'll lose their money. Obviously, right? They won't make their money back. Hollywood can't make a movie for $3 billion. Like that's how much their big movies do in the box office. They can't afford that to lose money. But for me, it's not risky. I have the keys to the kingdom, obviously. So I'm selling 4K Blu-ray for $135. I'll make my tens of millions back. It's a good investment, obviously. Some Sarah. Yeah. Why did you fix like all the stiffness in Volume 3? Yeah, I did. All the stiffer scenes with the stiffer dialogue, I polished it up a little bit. It's a bit better now. I'm gonna give you a heads up. Volume 3 is arguably the most raw of the 3 volumes when you read it. That's why some fans might like Volume 2 the best, or even Volume 1 the best. But Volume 3, the scenes blow your mind away more. They're more cinematic. That's why it's my favorite, but you can argue Volume 2 is better. Volume 2 is a very, very, very like close second for me. And Volume 1 is my least favorite, and Volume 3 is my favorite because it's when the shit gets real, obviously. Yeah. You have a name for all your chapters? I do. Volume 1 is The Last Hope for Xanus, The Prince's Journey. Volume 2 is Lasso for Xanus, The Sword of Truth, and The Great Exodus. And then Volume 3 is Lasso for Xanus, The War in the North, The Time of the Ancestors. Yeah, The War in the North, The Time of the Ancestors. That's my title for Volume 3. And I think those are good titles for my story. Yeah. Why those titles? Well, Volume 1, Taki is just curious about what's outside the walls, and he ends up leaving the walls, so that's why the prince's journey. He journeys outside the walls. That's the beginning of his journey. That's why I call it the prince's journey. That's a good title for Volume 1. In Volume 2, Taki has his sword, obviously, but Eli and him don't believe he's the Prince of Xanus. That's why I call it the Sword of Truth. And there's a great exodus in the end of Volume 2. That's why it's a good title for that. In Volume 3, you have the War in the North, and that's when the ancestors are introduced in the plot of the story. That's why it's a good title. Because those are good titles. Yeah, those are good titles. That's the best title I can think of for my books, obviously. Yeah. Questions there? Yeah. Easy, Ivan. I love your book. Oh, my book is sick, man. Saints is a sick book. Yeah. It's a sick story. Yeah. Yeah. I really think all the authors are like shit. Yeah, I don't mean to be cocky. I don't mean to be an asshole. But yeah, man. Like once I release saying this, all these famous fantasy authors are gonna feel like total shit. Like Brandon Sanderson, Stephen Erickson, J.K. Rowling. You know what I'm saying? Tad Williams. All these guys are gonna feel like shit because their book is not my book. This is better than their books, obviously. That's why they're gonna feel like shit, honestly. Yeah. And you guys know what I'm talking about. You read section of it. Yeah, we read section of it. I mean, yeah. They're gonna feel like shit. Um, those authors. And even the Hollywood executives and the directors and screenwriters are gonna feel like shit too because like Ivan's IP is better than all their IPs. Yeah. That's why all the directors in Hollywood are gonna want to get their hands on my story. But Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson are my top two choices, obviously. Yeah. All these actors are blown away in Hollywood. Holy shit, man. Ivan's fucking gifted, man. That's a masterpiece, man. I wish I can adapt that story, but that's better than Jared Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's better than Jared Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. That's an amazing story. Yeah, I'm saying. Yeah, that's what my stepmother told me that. Obviously, if that book you wrote's number one, and Hollywood would love your story, they'd be all over your story. That's what she told me. So my stepmother pretty much told me that Xanus is a number one IP. It'd be the number one sought after IP in Hollywood. It's a masterpiece. And she says the Hollywood companies will be all over my story. That's what she told me. But I don't want to be in Hollywood. I don't want those guys touching my story. They can do my we don't trust us. No, I don't trust you guys. You ruined George Lucas, Star Wars. I don't trust you guys, man. Like, chances are Hollywood's going to make a lot of changes to my story. They can ruin your story, Ivan. Yeah. Well, they bring Peter on board if you saw Ivan. Yeah, maybe they might bring Peter on board, but Peter wouldn't have full control, obviously, and Hollywood would not pay him as much. Chances are Peter will get Peter will be lucky to get maybe a $20 million contract, maybe 60, 80 million of the film profits Peter Jackson will make off the movie. Not even close to the amount of money I'll be willing to pay him if I don't sell out, obviously. Because I own the brand, I'm going to make tens of millions off my movie. I can pay Peter more money than what he would ever make in Hollywood. And Peter has total creative freedom over the movie. He doesn't have to worry about like executives breathing down his neck for the story. Like Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson obviously received a lot of notes from the New Line executives when he was directing Lord of the Rings, obviously, right? That's how it works in Hollywood. If you're doing a big budget movie. He doesn't have full creative freedom, but Peter has full creative freedom for my movie. Mel Gibson has full creative freedom for my movie, obviously, whoever I choose. Some Sarah. Yeah. That's why God gave me the keys. Yeah, God gave me the keys. That way I can own my brand. And the families in Hollywood, they don't touch my money, man. Remember what George said in that interview? He said if you own the movie, you make a lot of money. But if you don't own it, the odds are stacked against you because in Hollywood you have there's so many odds stacked against you making your money. That's why in Hollywood they never do net profit deals with actors. They do gross profit deals. It's for net profit deals. They don't make that much money. You're not going to see much money off that because they have huge overhead costs, the marketing budget costs. The odds are stacked against you, obviously. Whereas if you own the movie, that's where you make your money, like George said. That's why I'm making so much money off my Zane's movie because me and VJ own the movie. We own 100% of the brand. Amazon gets their 10% cut, but the 9% goes all to me and VJ. We make our money, obviously. But George says if you want to own the movie, you have to put the money in. But most filmmakers don't have that kind of money, and putting your own money towards a movie in the film industry is considered very risky. There's a saying in the industry: never self-finance a movie with your own money. You can lose your money. Like Francis Coppola, he lost his $200 million because he invested all his money into Megalopolis, and the movie flopped, and he didn't make it. He lost his $100 million. That's why it's there's a saying: never finance a movie yourself. It's risky, obviously. But for me, it's not risky. I have the keys. For George Lucas, it wasn't risky either because Star Wars was a big known IP. George Lucas took the risk, and all his movies were profitable. They all made money, obviously. George Lucas movies. I'm saying. Did George get lucky with Star Wars? Yeah, he did. George Lucas was a product of his time, obviously. He was one of the lucky ones whereby he what when he worked on Star Wars, the first movie, obviously, um, he was willing to take a low salary for Star Wars in exchange for the rights of the sequels to Star Wars. And Fox at the time said, "Yeah, sure, we'll give you the rights," because they thought Star Wars would be a huge flop, obviously. Boy, were they wrong, and George Lucas ended up owning the IP. He got lucky. But that was Hollywood back in the 70s. Hollywood was a different industry today. No way today would a Hollywood company give you sequel rights. Not going to happen, man. George Lucas got lucky. He was a product of his time. And Hollywood was a different industry in the 70s than it is now. Don't forget that, right? Yeah. No director today would ever get a deal like what George Lucas got. George Lucas got lucky. Obviously. Hollywood company would never give a director the full sequel rights and merchandising rights nowadays. No way. No way. They give you maybe box office points for the sequels, but not like full sequel rights. No way. Hollywood is a different industry today. The Hollywood companies are greedy. They'll never ever give a director that deal today. No way. They'll never do that. George just got lucky. He's a product of his time. And Hollywood was a different industry in the 70s. Don't forget that, guys, right? Different industry in the 70s. That's why George got lucky. And I'm lucky too because I have the keys to the kingdom. That's my Xanus brand. I own 100% of it. The Hollywood companies don't own it. They don't touch my money. I own the brand. Yeah. George told me, yeah, Ivan, if you want to have full control over your brand, you have to finance with your own money, Ivan. I know, George. Ivan, it's not risky, man. You're special. You have the keys. You'll make your money back. I know, George. I got my money back. George, like, Ivan, you're kind of like me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have your own company independent from the Hollywood system. I'm like, yeah, Peter. Yeah, George. You know what I'm saying? You're financing it with your own money. Sky Source would be like Lucasfilm, except it's better than Lucasfilm, honestly. Lucasfilm was a big film studio, but it wasn't as good as Hollywood. Hollywood was still better than Lucasfilm. But Lucasfilm was a big studio putting out $100 million budget movies. But my company, we're putting out a $3 million budget movie for Xanus. So it blows hot in the water, right? Yeah. Yeah. So Ivan, help us filmmakers out. How can we own our own movie? The only way for you to own your own movie is what you have to finance the movie yourself, obviously. But because it's risky, most filmmakers don't do that, obviously. Yeah, if you want to own your movie, you have to finance it with your own money. But there's a saying in the industry: never finance a movie with your own money. Obviously, that's why most filmmakers won't do that. Obviously, because it's risky. If your movie flops and you just lost your money, that's why most filmmakers they end up not owning the movie because they find investors to invest in their movie. But there's a catch. The investors will give you the money, but in exchange, they end up owning the majority of your movie. They might give you a little bit of control, but they end up owning the majority of your movie because they're the ones financing your movie. That's why most filmmakers are not lucky like George was. Most filmmakers end up not owning their movie, obviously, nowadays. They might own a piece of it, but not all of it. The investors who invest their money in it, they end up owning the majority of it because they put in the money, they took the risk, obviously. Yeah, that's why George Lucas is lucky. He got lucky, man. I told you, Hollywood was a very different industry in the 70s than it is now. It's a totally different industry. George Lucas would have gotten that deal now and nowadays in Hollywood. No way. No way will Hollywood give a director like the full sequel rights and merchandising rights in Hollywood. No way. No, it will never happen today. The best you can get is maybe points for the sequels and the merchandise, but they're not going to give you full power control over the sequel rights and the merchandising rights in Hollywood nowadays. No way. Hollywood companies are greedy. Hollywood companies are very greedy, man. They're never going to give a director that kind of deal. So sorry, George got lucky. It was a product of his time. The was like, yeah, Ivan, you're right. George got lucky. Yeah, George got lucky in it too. He was a product of his time, obviously. In Hollywood today, that would never happen, obviously, right? Never happened today. The Hollywood companies are greedy. They're greedy pigs. Yeah. Greedy, man. Yeah. Yeah. So George was bold. Oh yeah, George was bold. Remember in that video I showed you? He's like, yeah. By the way, I'm financing the movie now. I'm taking 100% of the profits. Obviously, he told the executives that, man. George is brave and ballsy to do that. You know what I'm saying? And they ended up accepting the deal. No. George didn't actually take 100%. He gave them a small distribution deal on the side, maybe 5% or something like that. 5-7% of the money he gave Fox, and he took the rest, obviously. But I told you, George was a product of his time. He got lucky, man. And nowadays in Hollywood, no way would a director be able to get the kind of deal that George did in the 70s for Star Wars. No way, man. Yeah. And George talks about how like the chances of you making money off movies is not high for net profits. That's why now they give you gross deals in Hollywood. Because net profits, you're not going to see much money off that. Because the odds are stacked against you. Too much overhead costs, all that stuff, right? He's like, yeah, he's like, if you own the movie, you make a lot of money. But you have to own it, which means you have to put the money in. That way, that means you have to take the risk. You guys say, when George said that, yeah. Because George is like me, obviously. Yeah, George can't stand Hollywood. Yeah, I don't like Hollywood. I want to have my own film studio independent from Hollywood, and he finance everything himself, and he ended up owning all the rights to Star Wars. We have a similar situation with me. Ivan can't stand Hollywood, but the Zane's brand's his. He owns that. All that money goes to him. He self finances the movie himself, and all that money goes to him, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. So George doesn't like Hollywood. No, George made it clear in many of his videos he can't stand Hollywood. Yeah, he wanted to be independent from the Hollywood system. Obviously, he got lucky. One of the luckiest director in the world, right? George Lucas was the only one who got lucky with his brand man. He ended up owning the whole thing, and all the money went to him. I can show you guys the clip again. This is why George Lucas is like me, obviously, right? Yeah. I'll show you guys the clip. Oh, shit. I'll show you guys the clip. And I'll talk a little bit about it, and after this, I'm gonna end the video, guys. I talked for an hour, and that's good enough, right? The video is called "Why Hollywood Doesn't Like George Lucas." Because George Lucas doesn't like Hollywood, right? He doesn't like Hollywood, obviously. Yeah. George even makes fun of the Hollywood executives, saying how they're not like creative people. They're just business people. Yeah, they're not the most sophisticated people in the world. That was funny. I know. I laughed. This is why George Lucas is like me. He's like me. He's like me. Yeah. George Lucas is like Ivan Omara. Yeah. This is funny. You know what I'm saying? Watch this.
Didn't understand what the word graffiti meant.
They didn't. The studio executives generally are not the most sophisticated people in the world. You will find that if you go to Hollywood. I hope you don't. If you don't want to be oppressed by people who are not as smart as you are. And I'm dumb. And obviously, I was not happy with Hollywood. I didn't want anything to do with them. I never made a movie in Hollywood. Actually, I've made them everywhere else but Hollywood. No, I avoided the studio because I was in San Francisco and they didn't bother to come up there. They didn't really bother to read the script. So THX, they freaked out when they saw it. Obviously, took all their money back from the studio, tried to recut it, tried to shorten it. I said, you can't understand it anyway. Why are you trying to shorten it? It's not going to make it make any more sense. And but they said, we can do it. I said, 5 minutes is not going to make it. Why do you want to do that? You know, I put my heart and soul in this thing, and to me, it means something. You know, you just come in here and whack a few fingers off and think there's nothing to it. And so I was really angry about that. Then they did the same thing in American Graffiti because they thought it was a terrible movie. They put it on the shelf. They cut it.
You see?
I
was like me? Yeah.
Number. I said, why would you do that? I said, it doesn't make any difference. They said, well, we did it because we can do it. And I got really upset. They put it on the shelf. And so I was determined from under that thing of having them make cuts. And so what happened was, once Star Wars was a hit, I had, out of defense, acquired the sequel rights.
See, you got lucky.
It wasn't going to go anywhere, but nobody thought it was going to make any money. So it was like half of nothing is nothing. So they let me have the sequel rights. So I went to them and I said, look, I'll take my salary. I'm not going to ask for $1 million. I signed the deal memo, and that's what I believe in. But everything that's not mentioned in the deal memo, I'm going to relook at.
It's about action figures.
All the money's in the action figures.
Yeah, okay.
You know, if you own the movie, which I came to do, you make a lot of money.
But you have to own it, yeah.
But you have to own it. But that means you have to put the money in. You know, so you have to take the risk. You know, the story of that was when I was talking to Ladd Jr., you know, on the first Star Wars. We were sitting in his office, and I said, and the deal was, you know, I got to my
See, he's bold. George was bold.
$1,000, and I said, you know, now we're splitting the profits, net profits. Nobody ever.
Yeah, you see how he's saying, yeah.
Ever. You just can't, because they just stack the deck against you. And I said, but I had 50% of the net profits, because my company was going out for making a movie. And I said, you know, I know what I'm doing for my 50%. You know, I put my heart and soul in this. My whole career is at stake. I've got to actually go out and make the movie. I got all this stuff that I have to do for my 50%. What are you doing for your 50%? I said, well, I provide the money.
He's bold.
I said, you don't provide the money. I said, you go to a bank with a letter of credit, and they supply the money. So you're not doing anything. And you get 50% of the movie. So then I came back for Empire Strikes Back, and I handed them this deal and redone the contract. Instead of them giving their boilerplate contract, I gave them the boilerplate.
Yeah, you see how George Lucas got lucky? Yeah, he's bold.
I went into Laddie, and I said, well, here's the deal. And, yeah, I'm going to finance the film this time. So, okay. And he looked at me and said, well, wait a minute. You're getting 100% of the profits. I said, yeah. I'm financing it. Remember that 50% that you had? Well, I'm doing that now. So you don't get that 50%, and I get my own 50%. So now I got 100%. I'll give you a little distribution agreement on the side here.
Yeah, you see that?
Eye drops made with the natural.
Yeah, you see that? See how George Lucas is like me? Yeah, George Lucas can't stand Hollywood. And what? And he said in the video, yeah, if you want to make money for your movie, you have to own it. But it's very tough for filmmakers nowadays to own movies, because to own movies, you have to self-finance a movie with your own money. But it's risky. If you do that, you can lose your money. That's why most filmmakers nowadays, they look for investors. And when they get investors, the investors end up owning the majority of the film, and they might give the filmmakers maybe a little bit of ownage of the film, but they end up owning the majority of it. The only way a filmmaker will own a movie is if it's a small little independent movie. That's made for maybe $5,000-$10,000. They can own that, but chances are those movies are not going to be that big of hits, obviously. But if it's in the hundreds of thousands to millions, chances are they found investors to invest money in their movie. That's how it works, right? Yeah. Yeah, George Lucas is bold. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm taking 100% of the profits. He told the executives that, man. No director nowadays would ever tell a Hollywood executive team, I want 100% of the profits. George Lucas went to the executives and he's like, I'm financing it now. He got lucky. Yeah. He's like, yeah, if you really want to make money off your movie, you have to own it. But if you own it, you have to put the money in. You have to take the risk, obviously. And he talked about how the Hollywood executives are not the most sophisticated people in the world, which is true. The Hollywood executives are not really creative people. They're business people. They're not really creative people. George Lucas, obviously, now it's funny, I know. That's why I don't want to be in Hollywood, man. I don't want those guys reading my story, man. I don't want the Hollywood executives owning my brand. I made the billions off my book. I'm self-financing Xanus myself, which means all the rights goes to me and VJ, obviously. Just like George Lucas, all the money went to him for his movies and his merchandise. No, merchandise, he didn't take all of it. I already got he split it with another company. But for the movie, like, George Lucas took, I think, like 5% of the money, and he gave like Fox like a 5% small distribution agreement or something like that. Whereas me and VJ, we take 90% of the film profits. Amazon takes their 10%. Yeah. Alright, that was funny, I know. George is a classic, I know. George is funny. George was what? He was bashing Hollywood, man. Yeah, even George is like you. He can't stand Hollywood. Yeah, George Lucas is exactly like me. He can't stand the Hollywood system. That's why he wanted to own his Star Wars brand. Well, I'm like George. I don't want to be in Hollywood, and I don't want those executives reading my story. They could ruin my story, man. I don't want those guys having control and power over my brand. When I have the keys and the billions I make off the book, I can self-finance Xanus with my own money, obviously. That's why George Lucas told me, Ivan, you're like me. You're starring your own films, doing it better from Hollywood. You're self-financing it with your own money, Ivan. Yeah, I'm not smart, man. You self-finance it with your own money. You, VJ, you guys now own the brand. Yeah, me and VJ now own the brand, obviously. As George said, yeah, if you own the movie, you make a lot of money. If you don't own it, you don't. The odds are stacked against you, because the Hollywood companies have to have overhead costs. They have to, they have to pay their marketing fee budget. The odds are stacked against you to make your money in Hollywood for the movies, for net profits, right? That's why most actors nowadays in Hollywood get gross profits deals, not net profits deals. That's why Omara is like George Lucas. Yeah, that's good enough. I talk for now outside, man. So hope you guys enjoy the show. I'm gonna walk the store, get my smokes. I'm gonna enjoy you guys. I'm signing out. Peace. Hope you guys enjoy the show from Omara. Peace out. I talk for over an hour for you guys. Peace out. Don't hate him, son.